Good evening on the 11th of the 11th, 22, Armistice Day, Remembrance Day. And could have recorded this earlier in the day, but it was more respectful to leave it until after 11 o'clock. But you can see the avenue up the Stormont there with the main Parliament buildings lit up in red quite respectively for those who fell during the Great War and the Second World War and other subsequent wars. War is a terrible thing. Conflict is a terrible thing. But this week, obviously, we've been reflecting on our political situation in Northern Ireland as well. And we are grateful of our peace process and the fact that we do not have conflict here like we had for 30 years. It's been relatively peaceful here for 25 years. But at the same time, we do have people who will quite happily, be involved in commemorations for Remembrance Sunday, whilst maybe not fulfilling some of the things that people fought for in the past, such as a benevolent society, such as democracy, freedom from tyranny, such as the tyranny that is happening in the Ukraine with Vladimir Putin at the moment, unfortunately. So I'm not going to mention any names, but all I'm going to say is, on social media, I did actually speak out in the context of Remembrance Sunday with those who maybe are not cooperating with the democratic process in Northern Ireland. And that was simply to say, what did those people die for? What did those people sacrifice their lives for if we do not have a working democracy? And I'm sorry if that offends people maybe who think that Remembrance Day, should not be politicised. I'm not trying to politicise it. I'm trying to say, look what those people sacrificed their lives for, or maybe suffered lifelong injuries for. It was for democracy, and it was for a caring and benevolent society, a society that looks after its people and makes things better for their people. So, my comments on social media were prompted by a photo shoot in front of the Houses of Parliament for Remembrance Sunday. People who were there being seen to do the right thing, but who are maybe not helping people in the present day as much as they should, in the spirit of the democracy that people fought for in the past. And even some of the people who are suffering now, they are pensioners, they're maybe on pension credit. They maybe actually are war veterans themselves, whether they fought in the Second World War, the last few who are still living who did that, or the Korean War, or any other subsequent wars. They're maybe struggling with their electric bills. They're maybe struggling to heat their houses, just like so many other people are in Northern Ireland. So it's not inappropriate to say that we would like to have a working democracy. We do not want to have artificial blackmail, because the refusal to go into government here is artificial blackmail. It's to do with matters that are to do with international treaties. It's not to do with the local running of this place, and one should not be sacrificed for the other. We have heard it being said that we cannot have this assembly without a protocol. We've also heard from other quarters it said that there has to be an election if there is not an executive. But my little mantra that I would add to that is that if this election ends up being extended beyond January and outside the remit of the latest agreement, then that means it has been extended. That means that it has been delayed. And all I'm trying to say is there can be no extension without reform, or there can be no delay without reform. I did find it quite heartening to hear Senator Kearney today say that he, looked on it as being a window. So that is a positive way of looking at it, that if we have a delay, then it is a window to sort things out. But we've been here before. and we know what can happen and what cannot happen. So I still would maintain that if there is an extension, if there is a delay, then there has to be reform, because the terms of that latest agreement, the New Decade New Approach Agreement, will be broken. And therefore, that means that we have to revisit the more recent 2006 agreement, which gave preferential treatment to both Sinn Féin and the DUP. That is where the problem is. If one lot's not going to do it, then the other lot will, and we will be back in the same situation again. So there can be no extension without reform. If we're going to have an election after January, then we have to make sure that further safeguards will be in place, further loopholes will be closed, so that this place can be running for everybody here, whether they're young, whether they're old, whether they do not believe in war, and they want to, but we all want to have peace. And some of the people who are suffering are actually war veterans anyway, as I said earlier on. But we want everybody to feel that they're being represented here, that the people who they voted for can do their jobs here for everybody. And back to my original point, what was it all for? It was for a working democracy and a benevolent society. And let's have that. And let's get these guys back in here before the 8th of December so that everybody can work together for peace and progress. Thank you very much.